The air was thick, suffocating, and drenched in the scent of fear. My senses had fled me. Sight had abandoned its post, and sound had dissolved into a humming madness. The trial had ended, yet its echoes still roared inside my skull. I had heard the words, "Death," but not how or when. Only the terrible finality of the sentence burned itself into my bones. I awoke from a fit of fainting to a world of pitch. There was no light, no glimmer of form or substance, only darkness, thick and oppressive. My hands trembled as they swept across the cold, damp stone upon which I lay. I was still alive. The Inquisition, infamous for its cruelty and cunning, had spared me for now, and in that mercy, I knew, lay a far worse fate. I reached out, crawling like a blind man, mapping my prison by touch alone. The walls were of stone, slick with mildew. I paced, step by agonizing step, estimating the circumference, some 30 or 40 paces wide, irregular, like the very architecture of torment. Then came the pit. My hand slipped, and had I not recoiled, I would have plunged into the void. I cast a pebble, and it fell for what seemed an eternity. No splash, only a distant hiss, like water seething in pain. A pit, deep, foul, and shrouded in perfect blackness, the very mouth of hell carved into the floor. Had I walked another step, I would have been swallowed whole. The Inquisitors had prepared a death unseen, quiet, cruel, and inevitable, and yet they did not push me. They waited. Soon a faint light grew, a pale, sulphurous glow that revealed my tomb. The walls closed inward, towering above like monstrous sentinels. I saw now that I had been bound, not by chains, but by sleep, drugged. My body, gaunt and trembling, lay upon a wooden frame, a platform, slightly elevated. Above me hung a great pendulum. Its blade was sharp, crescent-shaped and immense, a grim scythe, suspended from a mechanism in the ceiling. Slowly, inexorably, it began to descend. It swung back and forth in a deadly rhythm, its arc wide and hungry. With every pass, it came nearer. Here was their genius. Not the pit, not the blade, but the weight. The psychological vice tightened. I was not to die quickly. No, I was to anticipate death, to listen to its whisper with every tick of the mechanism. I screamed, not from mercy, but from the horror of knowing that they watched. Somewhere beyond the walls, they delighted in my terror. My bindings held me fast. Thick bands of cloth or leather secured me at the chest, arms, and legs. I could move nothing but my head. My tormentors had left me one hand's breadth of agency, enough to observe, not enough to escape. Food, a greasy meat, and rancid water had been left within my reach before I was strapped down. But I had not been the only one to smell it. Rats, starved and ravenous, began to swarm up from the pit. At first, I thrashed in revulsion, but then inspiration. I smeared what remained of the meat on the bonds at my wrist. The rats, drawn by hunger, chewed and clawed and gnawed with maddened frenzy. Inch by inch, the strap loosened, a final lurch, and I was free. The pendulum sliced the air beside me as I rolled from the platform, breathless and alive. The blade passed where my chest had been moments ago. They had failed, for now. Almost instantly, the pendulum halted, as though they, the silent architects of suffering, had flipped a switch. Then came a new horror. The walls began to glow, red-hot with infernal fire. A hissing sound filled the chamber, growing into a roar as the heat surged. The stone itself seemed to sweat. Flames crept along the edges of the room like slithering serpents of flame. And then the walls moved. They were shifting, closing in. The chamber was shrinking, the pit still yawning at its center like a hungry throat. I was being herded. The walls urged me forward, ever closer to the abyss. I recoiled, each step a dance between flame and darkness. The pit or the fire, those were the choices. Was it to be the unseen depths or the embrace of flame? Either way, I would perish, burned or buried. At the very edge, the final step before the drop, I faltered. The heat was unbearable. My skin blistered with its touch. The pit exhaled its cold breath in contrast. My legs buckled. I staggered, leaned forward. Then, a voice, a loud clamor, trumpets, shouts. A hand seized mine. I was pulled back from the brink. Saved. It was the French General Lassalle. The forces of Napoleon had entered Toledo. The Inquisition had fallen, its tyranny broken by the sword of liberty. My tormentors had fled. My life had been reclaimed in the final second. Yet though I had escaped, something remained. In the silence after salvation, I could still hear the pendulum swing in my mind, still feel the breath of the pit upon my feet, still sense the eyes that had once watched me from the dark. Calculating, patient, the true terror was not the pit, nor the pendulum. It was them. The ones who invent such horrors, the minds that plot slow death for the sake of power, the torturers whose tools are not blades, but time and fear, and those never truly vanish. And that's all for our spooky story today. Let us know in the comments if you liked it and what other scary stories you want to hear. We love reading your comments, and we always respond to them. Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the story. Subscribe for more amazing stories. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.